surely sees until he rescued me. His pardon for my sin, his bounty for my need. From slavery and sin I am redeemed. And heaven can contain the glory of the Son. Jesus is the Christ, the saving one. His love has made a way, the grave is overcome. Jesus is the Christ, the saving one. Sound beautiful. No fear can hold me down. No fear can hold me down. Nor darkness steal my joy. For blood has been poured out. The enemy destroyed. Could not hold him down. The cross was not enough to steal away his love. For he is God, and heaven can contain the glory of the Son. Jesus is the Christ, the saving one. His love has made a way, the grave is overcome. Jesus is the Christ, the saving one.
Ministry, maybe a new perspective on teenagers, a new perspective on culture, on leadership, of theology, whatever it might be. And some of you want to take that new perspective and you want to go back to your church and you just want to gag it all at them. And I want to encourage you to be careful with that. Because if you start telling them all these things that you're going to do and change and things that people are going to go, you were at a conference, weren't you? And so maybe start changing things that you can change in yourself. And my new perspective happened a couple years ago. Happened a couple years ago when I left the church full time. I'd worked in one church for 11 years, another church for 18 years. And when I left the church, it's been over 2 years now, it gave me an opportunity to back up and to look around and to look different and to see things from a different angle. And I got a totally new perspective. And one of the things that kind of jumped out at me that became very clear to me had to do with what I would call my relational legacy. And I began to think about some of the other people that I invested my life in. I began to look at other different types of leaders and see the legacy that they were leaving behind. And one of the things that I came to the conclusion is I don't think church leaders are very good, not all of them, but a majority are not very good at developing other people. Well, why is that? Why is it that church leaders, many of us in this room, are not very good at it? Well, because we're busy. We're scared, we're insecure. And those three actions become a deadly recipe for creating what I would call a self-preservation type of leader. That when relational development is not a value, it becomes a destructive void. And a lot of leaders will say they'll give lip credit to it or lip service and say, I'm really into developing others. But oftentimes it's accidental rather than intentional. And I want to challenge you as friends, as somebody who just loves youth ministry and loves youth workers. That is, youth workers, we've got to get better at this. At helping develop other leaders. Not just those next to us, but those who are in our youth ministry. There's young leaders waiting to be developed. We don't need to get better at getting older. We're getting older very well. We got to get better at developing other leaders. And if not, our messages and our values die with us. Leader, but to give you kind of a new term I've been messing with, and it's called a spotlight leader. A spotlight leader. And I know there is, in the leadership genre, it's very competitive because there's a lot of terms and titles to define leadership. The futuristic leader, the servant leader, the creative leader, the indispensable leader, the artful leader, the secret leader, the catalyst leader, the wish I was more like Andy Stanley type leader. I mean, there's all these different leaders, and I'm going to add one to the growing list, and it's just my own. It's a spotlight leader. And the definition of a spotlight leader is this. You see it on the screen. A spotlight leader is one who puts the spotlight on others. It's real simple. What type of leader are you? Are you a self-preservation leader or a spotlight leader? See, to oversimplify this is that really every day we are making leadership choices in our youth ministry. That are we pushing people into the spotlight, or are we pushing people out of the spotlight? See, a spotlight leader pushes people into the spotlight where they can be recognized, where their gifts can be seen, where they can be valued, and where they can be appreciated, where maybe they're given an audience with it's focused and eager to contribute. Where a self-preservation leader is selfish. That self-preservation leader doesn't want to share the spotlight. A self-preservation leader isn't thrilled when other people succeed or are appreciated or valued. A self-preservation leader doesn't like to step back and stand in the dark while others are in the light. You can say, hey Doug, no, that's me. I push other people into the light. Well, the people who would really know are those who are around you. Your team, volunteers, your students, parents. You may see yourself as a spotlight leader, but it'd be interesting to ask them. I mean, just because you put a spotlight on other areas of ministry that you're not excited about doesn't make you a spotlight leader. Just because you allow other people to give you input, but yet you still go with your own ideas, that doesn't make you a spotlight leader. If you're the only one in your whole church who's capable of writing curriculum, you're not a spotlight leader. If you're the only one who can solve problems, chances are you're not a spotlight leader. If you're the only one who can speak or teach, you don't understand this principle. So what does it require of you and I as growing leaders, as leaders who want to learn and develop? What does it require to be a spotlight leader? Well, I'm sure there are many things, but let me give you a few to consider. The first is this, that a spotlight leader is secure. A spotlight leader is secure in his or herself. The spotlight leader is one who searches. Spotlight leader is always searching. On my left shoulder right here, I have a relatively thick scar from an operation that I got a few months ago. I had some skin cancer removed. Growing up in Southern California in the 70s, we thought baby oil was sun protection. And because of those poor decisions 30 plus years ago, I have developed a very intimate relationship with my dermatologist. And I'm a frequent flyer at his office, and I've got 1 million sprays of liquid nitrogen. And if you've never been to a dermatologist before to have checked for skin cancer, it's pretty humiliating. What you do is you stand there in your underwear like this, and he has this certain glasses that he wears, and he touches your skin, and he just goes over your entire body. And he looks for every freckle and mole and then makes judgments on them. And I have so many freckles on my body. He plays this game called Name the Galaxy. And it's just really embarrassing, because what he then does is when he names them and measures them and comments on them, about 5 feet away is this female scribe with a cartoon picture of my body and then making little notes on them. Very embarrassing. Became even more embarrassing when I found out she went to our church. And so, oh yeah, no, not a pretty sight for either of us. But what's happening when I go there 3 times a year, his dedicated search from top to bottom is actually saving my life. And a spotlight leader makes a dedicated search. A dedicated search to those who are around you, those who you do ministry with. You look closely at them, not as competition, but as someone you want to find the good in them and help them become great. Like leader is a servant. When Mark made the announcement about Tick leaving after 35 years, it's an interesting announcement in the world of youth ministry, because Tick Long has been this type of leader. Tick Long has been a spotlight leader. There's not one of you in here that's ever read a book by Tick, because he hasn't written one. Only a few people have ever even heard him speak or teach, because he chooses not to do that. You see, for 35 years, Tick has been an example of a spotlight leader. That he has put other people on stages for them to use their gifts. He's taken people, young people like me. I was 23 years old, and he put a spotlight on me. He said, we want you to be a part of youth specialties. We want you to lead. We want you to influence. Many leaders, not just youth ministry leaders, many global leaders that have left the youth ministry genre, that are serving the kingdom of God, got their start under Tick's leadership. And so a few minutes ago, when people rose to their feet to applaud, it brought me great joy. Why? Because servants are rarely recognized on this side of eternity anyway. I've heard Tick speak. He's a really good communicator. I've seen things that he's written. He's a really good writer. But God has wired him to be a spotlight leader, and he has served youth specialties faithfully for 35 years behind the scenes. And this type of servant leadership is not new to the Christian culture. It's not new at all. It's just rare. It's rare because somehow serving for many leaders morphs itself into self-serving. That's why Jesus told his posturing disciples, if you want to be first, put yourself last. Jesus, then when we serve, and you serve others by taking a step back and putting them forward. And I'm not suggesting, by the way, just so you know, I'm not suggesting that when you're a spotlight leader, you never have the spotlight yourself. Not at all. Because if God has given you an opportunity to use your gifts in a way and you don't use them and you're not a good steward of your ministry, I think that's a crime as well. Just a question of, are you hogging the spotlight, or are you putting other people into the spotlight with a sense of humility and an understanding of a bigger kingdom view? You consider my friend Jim Burns, that when Jim put the spotlight on me, he just deflected the spotlight. See, he was a good steward of his gifts and of other people's gifts. His ministry is bright and moving, but he was just a faithful steward.